This video is going to be all about sway bars and why I modified both the front and rear sway bar configuration under my 2020 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon. Alright, let's get to it. Now, like most modern truck and SUVs, the Gladiator comes with two sway bars from the factory, a heavy duty rate up front and a much lighter rate out back. Now, the front sway bar without a doubt is doing the most work on the Gladiator platform to keep that body roll in check, but if you're going to go off-road, you are going to want to disconnect it to allow the suspension to move a little bit easier. And if you have a Rubicon like I do, there are a few things to consider. Just as important as airing down your tires before you hit the trail, you need to disconnect your front sway bar. Doing that is going to allow the suspension to soak up the terrain much more easily. Keeping it connected will transfer energy from one side to the other, and that's what gives you all that head rock and makes it ride a lot rougher. Also, if you fail to disconnect your sway bar, you will find that the Jeep will raise a tire off-road, and a tire in the air is not one fighting for traction, and that's going to equate to less stability overall. So you absolutely want to disconnect your front sway bar. Now, if you do not have a Rubicon, that's going to probably require you to get a sway bar disconnect or some sort of aftermarket sway bar. If you do have a Rubicon like I do, you have a few options. Now, from the factory, the Rubicon model comes with a button that allows you to simply disconnect the sway bar, and for the most part it's fairly reliable. However, I've had a few electronic gremlins in the past, and one thing that I have found is if that plug comes loose, you lose the ability to use your factory lockers, and it will lock and re-engage, and that's definitely not fun when you're out on the trail. So a few years ago, I actually bypassed mine altogether, and I did so with this manual knob from Evo Manufacturing. It literally just unbolts the original electric motor and it goes to a manual knob. And when I want to disconnect, I hop out and I spin this knob in, and now it's disconnected. And when I want to reconnect it, you simply unscrew it. It's not a very complicated system one way or the other. This is about 120 bucks. So it's a very low budget, easy thing to do. And beyond the common electronic failure, the big benefit of something like this is that there's not a speed limitation associated with it. So once you disconnect it, you can drive as fast as you want with it disconnected off-road, and you can keep that smooth ride. So regardless if you're going out in the desert or if you're doing sand wheeling or anything like that, you're not going to be speed limited because you have this manual knob. Yes, it's an extra step. You have to get out and twist it, and depending on what type of bumper configuration, it might be harder or easier depending on what you have. This is a Arca series subby front bumper from Rugged Ridge, and I do not have the factory skid plate on it, so it's very easy for me to get in here and access this, and I've been very happy with it. I will say, if you do go this route, I recommend getting a Taser JL Mini. It will allow you to tell the computer that it no longer has the electronic disconnect module, so you won't get any warning lights or anything like that. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the rear sway bar is a much lighter rate, and as such, you don't need to disconnect it like you do with the front one to go off-road. The big negative of the Gladiator rear sway bar from the factory isn't so much to do with its light rate, it's to do with how it fits on the rear axle. Now, I've got an aftermarket rear axle, which is important to mention here in a minute, but what you really need to know is, regardless of how you're configuring your Gladiator, one of the challenges if you're going to be doing more adventurous, let's say rock crawling and things like that with your Gladiator, that you've got to be aware of is the rear sway bar bolts to the back side of the axle, and it hangs down very low. Most aftermarket lift kits will just give you a longer link, and it keeps the actual bar itself in a low point. Now, my issue has been it's very easy to bend the links, which I have definitely done, and ultimately you can damage the actual mounts that the links bolt into. Now, if you don't have a lot of gear in the back of your Gladiator, or you're not really towing with it, removing the rear sway bar isn't really that big of a deal in my experience. But I will say, once you start to add on weight, and specifically weight up high, you really can tell the difference between having a sway bar and not having a sway bar. Now, the factory one wasn't a very heavy duty bar, so it didn't really do a whole lot with a lot of weight in the bed of the Gladiator in general. However, what I will say is, having a 165 pound rooftop tent up here and having my 125 Alu cab contour canopy, it starts to add weight. And I have, yes, wheeled with the tent on before, and it's never been where the Jeep felt wildly unstable, and part of that is I was able to adjust the suspension for the added weight using these Fox 3.0 remote reservoir shocks. What I did simply increase the low speed compression dampening. Low speed movement of the shock is really what controls a lot of the sway of the vehicle, and that absolutely helps. The bummer of increasing so much of that dampening is that it does stiffen up the back of the vehicle. So it's a bit of a trade-off. And ultimately what I really needed was a rear sway bar, but I wanted something that was going to be high clearance, and I thought a little bit stronger rate would definitely make more sense. Now, if you're looking at an aftermarket sway bar set up for the back of the Gladiator, most of what you'll find, or at least what I found, was there replacement bars that mount in the stock location, and they're really designed for towing. Ideally, if you're towing a lot, a heavy-duty rear sway bar definitely helps with the stability of the vehicle, so it's a really good option if that's the way you're going to go. But I wanted clearance. I off-road this more than I tow. I actually don't tow at all with it because I don't have a receiver on the back of this custom bumper. This thing is built for wheeling and taking the family on adventures, and that's what I wanted to use it for. But stability is definitely important when you have a lot of weight way up high. And so that's why ultimately I decided, when I did this big shift to go to 42s and I had this thing at the shop earlier this year, I said, this is the time, let's go ahead and do something about this rear sway bar. And that's why I ordered a Antirock rear sway bar from Jock 4x4. The Antirock sway bar system is designed as a complete replacement rear sway bar, and unlike the factory bar that mounts at the axle, their 1-inch torsion sway bar mounts above the frame rails and uses forged arms that attach to the outside of the chassis. Since I didn't have inner fenders, nor did I have the stock rear sway bar attached, installation went fairly quick for my setup. Jock is one of the few companies that do have incredibly detailed instructions, so if you do order one, they are a great reference. It's also worth noting that the bar is engineered with a rate that is higher than what comes from the factory. The rate is increased to take into account things such as aftermarket bumpers, skid plates, and common add-ons for the platform. While the links that come with the kit are intended for 3.5 inches of lift, they work fine with my Rockcrawler 4.5-inch Adventure Series suspension. While this is intended to be a bolt-on upgrade, since I do have an aftermarket ProRock XD60 axle set from Dynatrack, I ordered a pair of Jock's universal sway bar mounting tabs and had low range weld them in place. As I mentioned, the Jeep was at low range 4x4 for a handful of other upgrades and repairs. One of those was moving up to these massive 42 by 1350 R17 Nitto Trail Grapplers. These are mounted on a 17 by 9 Battleborn beadlock that has 4.5 inches of back spacing. I mentioned all that to say that that was a pretty big change from what I was originally set up with. So before I even left the shop, we cycled the suspension not only for tire clearance, but we wanted to see how well the new sway bar would allow the rear suspension to articulate. Quickly, I realized that this sway bar was not going to be an issue in terms of limiting flex, but I definitely needed more bump stops to keep the 42s in check. Once I got the Jeep dialed in for the bumps, I was able to get the Jeep on the trail and see how well the sway bar made a difference. After not running a sway bar for 2 years, I could absolutely notice the change in the stability of the Jeep off-road. Mostly you don't feel the body wanting to unload nearly as much. It's also allowed me to dial back some of that low speed compression I mentioned earlier, which makes it ride a little bit softer. Having the bar tucked out of the way has been fantastic, as I've hit plenty of things under this Jeep, but the sway bar links have not been one of them. In terms of travel and articulation, I haven't found this setup limits it in any way. There's no weird noises or unwanted head toss, and with such a massive footprint from this trail grappler, the Jeep rides incredibly smooth off-road in general. I will say, with the bed full of gear and our family of 4 loaded in, I do crank up the compression adjusters a good bit, which isn't that unusual, and the more weight you have, the less effective the sway bar really is. And it's worth talking a little bit more about that and some of the on-road characteristics. On-road handling has been the biggest improvement with the sway bar configuration by a large margin. What I will say is this Jeep is really stable. It's very, very wide, has a lot of unsprung weight, and I have a ton of confidence driving it around on mountain roads and everywhere else. I could not be happier with how this Jeep feels. But what I will say, a few of the big differences have been is I've been able to dial back some of that low speed compression, so I feel like on-road it rides a little bit better. And it's very interesting because I do change the weight in the back of this Jeep a good bit. Sometimes the tent's not back there, sometimes the alucab's not back there, and you can definitely feel that sway bar the lighter the configuration gets in the back, and I like that. It's really interesting to feel how much that makes a difference. And it's worth mentioning that because Jock does offer a heavy duty rate that's going to be a lot more aggressive than what I have. And I think, you know, if you're in the same boat like I am where you're constantly removing weight and adding weight, I think the lighter or standard rate is the way to go. And one of the reasons I say that is I was on the fence which one made the most sense for this, and actually called and talked to the guys there. And after talking through how I do change my setup and the wheeling that I like to do, they did recommend going with their standard rate. And I'm glad that I did. I think if I towed a lot, or this was the configuration that was always there, yeah, it'd probably make more sense to have that heavier rate. But all that being said, even with the tent open and deployed, you can definitely feel that that bar is back there. There's a lot less rock in the back of the vehicle. And when I do camp with this thing, I crank the low speed compression all the way up regardless, and it just gives it more of a firm you know, sensation when you're up there in the tent, and the kids, you know, love it. It's like having a big tree house out at the beach. So I will say that is noticeable. It's not like I just tossed the factory one back on there. It definitely feels like it's a heavier rate. As I mentioned in the off-road clips, having it tucked up is super nice. I don't have any clearance issues with the arms or anything on the frame. I guess sometimes that's an issue, and you can get a shim kit from them if the bolt head does come too close, but that has not been an issue for my 2020. And it's also worth noting that I'm sure people are going to wonder, why don't you just go with the front and rear anti-rock? Because one of the big things about having anti-rocks is you don't have to disconnect them, and they actually make a replacement front sway bar that allows you to not have to disconnect anything, but it's going to be a lighter rate. And it's not so light where you can't daily drive with it, but in my experience, it's a light enough rate where I feel like for how I like to drive this thing, definitely in mountain roads and things like that, it's gonna offer a little bit more sway and not as much control as the factory bar. And so I just don't think it's right for this. Maybe on a Wrangler where I'm not gonna be adding a lot of extra weight, that makes more sense to put a matching set of Jock sway bars on it. But I think for this, I would rather just have that 100% locked in bar up there for when I need it, and then I can just twist the knob and have it disconnected for when I don't. And I've got that little bit of extra out back to give it that extra bit of stability off-road. So yes, that's ultimately what I did. There's really no negatives in my eyes. It's not the cheapest sway bar that's out there. It's not the most expensive. They definitely can get pretty expensive if you go with the billet arms and that sort of thing. But I think if you're trying to tighten up the feel of the Gladiator and you're really using it off-road, I don't see how you could do with anything better. And I think my whole goal with this Jeep from day one has always to make this a versatile platform that I can drive everywhere, not trailer, so it can handle stuff like mountain curvy roads, and it can be comfortable to off-road, whether we're just going down to the beach and to hang out for the day or camp, or if I'm gonna go take this thing on the Rubicon and drag it across rocks. So that is my goal. I'm continually just trying to figure out how to get this thing a little bit better, and I think I'm pretty close to where it needs to be. So if you've got any questions, just drop them in the comments. I've got some more stuff coming to this and some more Jeep content coming to the channel. So if you did like this video, please actually like it and consider subscribing, so it absolutely helps. As always, I appreciate you guys watching, and with any luck, hope to see you on the trail. Take care.